And we had Bottom turning into a donkey from the neck up. While he had waited in the hawthorn brake, listening for his cue, Puck had touched his broad bow and made it harsh and hairy, had touched his nose and made it a muzzle, had touched his ears and made them grow. In short, he had clapped upon the shoulders of the unsuspecting Bottom the sickening head of an ass. "I see their knavery," said Bottom by way of dignified reproach to his departed companions. "This is to make an ass of me." He walked up and down and began to sing in a loud voice to keep up his spirits. He was divided between mystification and anger over the behavior of his friends, for he, no more than any man, could see that he had a donkey's head. Puck watched with rare delight and guided the weaver's steps nearer and nearer to the bed of the fairy queen. Suddenly she awoke and opened her anointed eyes. "What angel wakes me from my flowery bed?" she cried, hearing Bottom's braying voice, and
Titania?
Okay. And then seeing him in all his hairy, long-eared glory. Bottom acknowledged the greeting of the fairy queen and then continued with his song, for he was not a man easily amazed. "I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again," begged Titania, and helpless with admiration, confessed to the donkey-headed Bottom that she loved him at first sight. "Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that," said Bottom in all honesty, and went on to express a wish to find his way out. That's okay. Bobby can cut it for you, okay? Can you cut that apple? Sorry, everyone. Sorry, I'll back up. "Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that," said Bottom in all honesty, and went on to express a wish to find his way out of the wood, but that was not meant to be. "Thou shalt remain here," commanded Titania, "whether thou wilt or no. I am a spirit of no common rate," she declared, rising from her couch in all her strange beauty and majesty, "and I do love thee, therefore go with me." Bottom bowed his long-eared head in courteous assent, and bright Titania awarded him 4 gossamer sprites to tend upon him and supply his every want. So Bottom, whom nothing could surprise, for though he had an ass's head, he had a rare soul, went affably with the fairy queen, while the 4 sprites waited on his smallest command. He bore himself like a monarch. These matters Puck reported to his master, who nodded, well pleased by the grotesque punishment that had been visited on the disobedient queen. "But hast thou," he asked, "yet latched the Athenian's eyes with the love juice, as I did bid thee do?" "I took 'em sleeping," promised Puck. "That is finished too." Even as he said it, Demetrius and Hermia came into the glade. "Stand close," murmured Oberon, dissolving into a kind of mist. "This is the same Athenian." This is the woman," agreed Puck, thinning by his master's side, "but this is not the man." Puck had blundered. Demetrius still loved Hermia, who still loved Lysander. But now, by reason of Puck's mistake, loved Helena too, therefore must still love where she was despised. "See me no more," cried small, dark Hermia, wearied and distressed by the unwanted Demetrius. And she plunged away in pursuit of her lost Lysander. Demetrius gazed after her in despair. "There's no following her in this fierce vein," he sighed regretfully, and, overcome with weariness from the chase, laid down to rest. "What hast thou done?" demanded Oberon, vexed by his servant's error. "About the wood go swifter than the wind, and Helena of Athens look thou find." The goblin vanished, and Oberon softly approached the sleeping Demetrius. When his love he doth espy, let her shine," he whispered, anointing the sleeper's eyes with the liquor of the purple flower. "When thou wakest, if she be by, beg of her for remedy." Even as this was done, Puck returned, leading in his invisible wake the melancholy... leaving in his invisible wake the melancholy Helena, who, in her turn, was followed by the eye-bewitched Lysander. Demetrius woke up, opened his charmed eyes, saw Helena, and straightway fell madly, wildly in love with her. No sooner had he declared himself that Hermia returned, and there followed such a scene of such frantic confusion, such anger, such reproach, such accusation and denial, such brandishing of fists and flashing of eyes, such wounding with words and breaking of hearts, that, had there have been mortal eyes to watch, they would have made a waterfall of tears instead of glinting with merriment at love's calamity. Lord, what fools these mortals be, chuckled Puck, as the four lovers raved and ranted and wept in the moonlit glade. You juggler! You canker-blossom! Shouted Hermia, maddened by the very sight of Helena, once without a lover and now the undeserving possessor of two. You thief of love! Have you no modesty, no maiden shame? Wondered Helena, tottering like a stricken willow before the injustices of Hermia's reproach. You puppet, you! Puppet! Shrieked Hermia, mortified by so unkind a reference to her brevity of inches. Thou painted maypole! Let her not hurt me! Screeched Helena, flipping like a timid doe behind Demetrius and Lysander, as Hermia flew at her with upraised nails. She was a vixen when she went to school. The quarrel leaped and blazed. Spiders, beetles, serpents, and distracted birds fled from the heated scene. The passions of the four lovers could no longer be confined within the pressing limits of the glade. Demetrius and Lysander, unable to endure each other's existence for an instant more, reached their swords and rushed away in search of plainer ground where they might make fountains with each other's blood. The two ladies, thus abandoned in the moonlight, panting from their recent exertions, eyed each other strong with dislike and deep with distrust. Then first one and then the other retreated and vanished into darkness to seek kindness and security among the less wild beasts that might inhabit the wood.
So I just wanted to say the part of Puck. So he put another oil into Lysander's eye, and then he woke up and he loved Helena, and then the other guy liked Helena too, and Hermia was upset that they didn't like her anymore.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right, I'll see if I can keep going.
Truck's here.
This is thy negligence, accused Oberon, coming out from leaves and regarding his henchman with disfavor. Still thou mistakest, or else committest thy knaveries willfully. Believe me, King of Shadows, I mistook, protested Puck, whose goblin heart had nonetheless been gladdened by the sight of the crossed and crossing lovers. This fourfold enmity that had sprung from a single misplaced love had furnished him with much salty delight. But now it was to be ended. Oberon commanded Puck to prevent the coming battle between Lysander and Demetrius, and then undo the harm that magic had done with magic again. While Puck was so employed, he would find the donkey doting Titania and gain his chief object, which was to take her Indian boy. Up and down, cried Puck, who foresaw as much confusion in undoing confusion as in making it. I will lead them up and down. Away he sped into the wood, where he first found Lysander, baffled by thicket, ditch, and moonshine, shouting to his enemy and waving his sword wherever there was space to do so. Where art thou, proud Demetrius? Here, villain, drawn and ready, answered Puck in Demetrius's voice. I'll be with thee straight, swore Lysander, and went off as roundabout as Puck could lead him, fighting with bushes and branches and shadows of every step of the way. Next, he taunted Demetrius with Lysander's voice, and then back to Lysander, and then Demetrius again, then with goblin speed to furious Lysander. He was here, he was there, he was in front, he was behind, he was everywhere, he was nowhere. Follow my voice, he called, and follow it the maddened lovers did, until the wood was filled with shouts and cries and grunts and gasps, and the glitter of swords as they slashed at moonbeams and pierced the dark. And then, little by little, the passionate enemies grew slower in their motions. Their limbs ached, and their bright swords, no longer flashing, helped them, like sticks or crutches, on their weary way. At length, first one and then the other tottered into the very glade from which they'd set out, and unaware of each other, thankfully lay down and went to sleep. "Oh, weary night! Oh, long and tedious night!" wailed Helena, straying upon the scene and seeing nothing but her own sadness. Her heart was broken. She sighed and sank down upon the grass and prayed for sleep. "Yet but 3, cried Puck, examining with with interest the unconscious contents of the glade. "Come one more. 2 of both kinds makes up 4. "I can no further crawl, no further go," sobbed Hermia, shredded alike by misery and briar. "Here will I rest me till the break of day," as she joined the 3 sleepers to make the goblins 4. Sleep sound, whispered Puck, and darting forward, squeezed the fateful juice into Lysander's dreaming eyes. When thou wakest, he promised, thou takest true delight in the sight of thy former lady's eye. He vanished, leaving the four strewn upon the grass like fallen warriors on love's battlefield.